When you hear artificial intelligence and text generation, you're probably imagining a scenario where you type in a few things and then poof, the AI just generates an article or a paragraph or something for you kind of automagically, and then you can just copy that and use it in your content and you know live happily ever after or something. But that's not really how OpenAI sort of envisions the AI being used. A lot of tools out there kind of treat it that way. You go through a series of forms and you type in maybe the name of your business and the title of your blog article or something, and a few other descriptors basically, and then you hit generate and it'll come back with a few ideas for you to copy and use. That's pretty cool, but the real power of it kind of shows in something like Shortly, where the AI is just kind of right there under the surface. It's a place where you write, and then when you need more content, you click the write for me button. It's right down over here in the lower left, and the AI kind of kicks in and does some things. But then you run into the issue of you got to kind of know what you're doing a little bit, and so it has a lot of power in Shortly. It kind of is like a almost, it's not quite raw access to the API, because behind the scenes Shortly is doing some voodoo magic to get what you are probably asking for from the AI. But the title of this video is be the boss or be the guide, right? And I've said this probably 10 times throughout other videos and stuff. But when you're using something like Shortly, you want to be the boss, and you want to be a good boss. You want to provide good, clear instructions to the AI. So much like as if you were, imagine if you were the assistant and the boss was trying to give you commands, you would appreciate it if the boss gave you enough detail to be able to create the content that the boss wanted. And so that means doing things like making sure that the article brief has good amount of content in there. And in fact, this one here is probably not the best example. You probably would need some more topical keywords and stuff to put in there. But the main focus of this video I wanted to talk about is the GPT-3 AI is a unidirectional predictive text algorithm. So what it's trying to do is, I guess the easiest way to think about it is it's trying to finish your thought. You start a sentence, like a little sentence fragment, and it'll try and finish your sentence and some more if you have, depending on the setting that you've chosen, a little, somewhere in between, or a lot. This is how much it's going to bring back from the AI. But you kind of dance with the AI. You start a sentence, you start a thought, you hit the write for me, and the AI takes over and finishes it. And then every once in a while, it'll even surprise you with something that you didn't quite expect, but is actually a really good fit for your article, and it kind of gives you the ability to move into new directions in your articles with a little bit of serendipity. So just for an example, I want to show you something that, if you might recognize this text from a previous video where I wrote about bankruptcy law, and of course I have no idea. I'm not an expert in law of any kind, let alone bankruptcy law, but yeah, I was challenged to do it, and so I did it. But I want to show one of the things that is kind of important, and it's the idea of leading your sentence, or like letting the AI finish your thought. And one of the ways you can do that is as you're reading through your article and you want some more content for, like, maybe for like this section, personal bankruptcy is governed by a law called bankruptcy code. This code generally establishes two main insolvency rules: the debtor in possession and trustee rules. Okay, it sounds like I should probably maybe write a little bit more about these two things. And so how would you go about doing that in Shortly? One way you might try is the expand um, command. You could try and copy that and move it down here or something, highlight it, and use command right square bracket to do expand. Okay. And it sounds like it's almost like it's writing about something um, related, but it almost doesn't sound like it's right to me. So let's go ahead and undo that and try it a different way. So let's say that the debtor in possession rule is, notice I started my thought and now I'm just going to hit write for me and I'm going to let the AI finish it. Okay, and so in this case, it actually it described this one as well, and then a little bit of extra. So as you can see, it almost serendipitously, like kind of knew ahead of time. It predicted that as I was talking about this one, and it knew it was here. So it was like, okay, maybe they're gonna want sort of a little bit of a definition of both of them, and then it also added a little bit of extra. This I wouldn't have thought to even add, and so this is extra that's kind of a nice bonus that's only came from the fact that I was able to lead the AI and continue the conversation, so to speak, and let the AI kind of take over. So I've got a decent article brief, and above all this, there's a decent amount of context now for it to work with. And as I keep going through this thing, let's see, in some cases there you can choose between two rules. If there are outstanding contracts, if there are no outstanding contracts, let's just say that if you don't know, let's see, outstanding contracts are, and let's just see if the AI will take over for that and finish that thought for me. Okay, yeah, perfect. So you can tell that this article is now kind of really fleshing out pretty good. Of course, I'm not writing about something I know a lot about, so in my opinion, it looks pretty good. But if you're a lawyer and if bankruptcy code was your thing, you might spot things that don't make sense. So be careful, of course. The AI, it's really smart, but it doesn't know what it knows. It's kind of a weird way of saying that it it can produce facts, or it can take facts from kind of disparate things and use them together in a way that sounds really real, but the numbers and statistics and such don't actually match to what it's talking about. So you need to be careful with hard facts and statistics and stuff like that when you're using GPT-3 based AI tools like Shortly or any of the other ones like Niches and Conversion AI and all these. They all have the same sort of condition. You have to be careful with it. But so as you can see, that's what I mean by leading the AI. And Shortly is the only tool that really has this. Headline has it to a little bit of a degree, but you gotta be a little bit worried because it's got a credit limit, and you're burning through credits if you're just experimenting with letting the AI take over. But inside of Shortly, you've got the power to just start writing, lead your AI partner, get to the point where you've kind of written a good start to your thought, and then let the AI take over, and it starts doing a really good job of finishing your thought for you. And then you can also occasionally with the, if you haven't seen it yet, and I recommend you check out the video on context and Shortly to learn more about it. But the triple slash command will be your friend as you start getting lower or further into your article, and you need to make sure that the AI is not using the context above this to create the content below it. And so I'm not going to go in depth on that here in this video. I've talked about it several times. Definitely check out the context video to learn more about that. This command is very important for you to understand when you're working with Shortly. As you start leading your content, as you're further down and you start leading it and it's not able to produce the content you want, make use of this command and it will definitely improve the quality of the content you get depending on the section that you're in your article. So that's it for this one. Be a good boss. Lead your AI assistant. Give them good instructions, and you'll create articles faster, higher quality, and you know beat your competition to market and all that good stuff. Until next time, take care.